Welcome to Stonewatch. This is my movie review for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. If you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button and click on that bell so you get notified for future videos. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And yes, after checking out Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in the theaters opening weekend, I gotta say this movie was pretty damn good. I mean, I'm not gonna say this is like the best movie I've seen ever or the best comic book movie I've ever seen ever, which I've been seeing a lot of people online saying, but I did enjoy it nonetheless. I mean, I was really intrigued with the story, and I didn't do a rewatch of the first one before I went to go see this movie, and I kind of wish I did, because even though they kind of gave you like a little bit of a recap in this movie, so you didn't really have to watch that movie, I kind of wish I did, because there was a lot of things in that movie that I don't remember. So even with the little bit of the recap that they did throw in this movie, I kind of wish I did, because I don't remember the whole Spot guy and everything else that happened in the first movie. So when he showed up in this movie, I was kind of like, okay. And then how the story was progressing, and obviously it's going to be even more when the third movie comes out next year. Well, depending on how the writer's strike thing pans out, because I think that's going to push this third movie back a little bit, but that's a topic for a whole nother video. However, I did think this movie was pretty damn good. I kind of like to see it again, but there's going to be a lot of movies coming out the next few weeks, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. Now, with a runtime of 140 minutes, that's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. I thought the pacing was actually pretty decent, but I think they probably could have shaved off maybe 10-15 minutes off that movie, just a little bit. Now, like little parts here and there throughout the whole thing, just to kind of tighten it up a little bit. Other than that, I thought it flowed pretty good, and like they didn't waste any time. They pretty much like jumped right into the story, so like, it wasn't like to where you had to wait for like a build up or something, you know what I mean? And I thought the different animation styles was pretty cool. And I thought it was pretty interesting on all the different variations that they have of Spider-Man, which I didn't even know that really existed. Like, I never heard of Spider-Punk before until I saw this movie, and I kind of like to see the comic book storyline with that character, to be quite honest with you. He was kind of interesting. I mean, he was kind of like a rebel, right? I mean, I thought he was pretty cool. I don't know, I thought this movie was pretty damn good. I definitely want to see it again. I mean, it'll probably most likely end up being at home, but other than that, I thought this movie was awesome. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a 2023 American computer animated superhero film featuring the Marvel Comics character Miles Morales, Spider-Man, produced by Columbia Pictures and Sony Pictures Animation in association with Marvel Entertainment, and distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. It is a sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse of 2018 and is set in a shared multiverse of alternate universes called the SpiderVerse. The film is directed by Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson in their feature directorial debut, from a screenplay written by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who also co-produce, along with David Callaham. In the film, Miles goes on an adventure with Gwen Stacy, aka Spider-Woman, across the multiverse, where he meets a new team of spider people known as the Spider Society, led by Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, but comes into conflict with them over handling a new threat. Sony began developing the sequel Into the Spider-Verse before the film's release in 2018, with the writing and the directing team attached. It was set to focus on the relationship between Moore's Miles and Steinfeld's Gwen. The film was officially announced in November 2019, and animation work began in June of 2020, with a different visual style for each of the 6 universes visited by the characters. With a runtime of 140 minutes, the film is the longest animated film produced in the United States. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse had its world premiere at the Regency Village Theater on May 30th of 2023 and was released in the United States on June 2nd of 2023. Having been delayed from its original October 2022 date due to the COVID-19 pandemic, similar to its predecessor, the film has garnered universal acclaim from the critics for its groundbreaking animation, action sequences, heartfelt story, ambitious scope, vocal performances, visual style, musical score, and its dark tone. The third film, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, is scheduled to be released on March 29th of 2024, while a female-focused spin-off film is in development. Starring in this movie, Shameik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Brian Trey Henry, Jake Johnson, Jason Schwartzman, Issa Rae, Karen Sony, Luna Laura Velez, Daniel Kaluuya, and Oscar Isaac, just to name a few. Coming out of opening weekend, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is sitting with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 95%. Certified fresh, with 250 top critics reporting in. Now, the general consensus of the top critics coming out of opening weekend is this: just as visually dazzling and action-packed as its predecessor, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse thrills from start to the cliffhanger conclusion. Now, that means, because like originally when they were marketing this movie, this was supposed to be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Now, they've changed the title to the third movie, so it's not really part 1, but it's still like part 1 of the story, and it kind of ends with a to be continued at the end of this movie. And there wasn't really anything as far as like a credit scene in this movie. I mean, they showed like the logo for the third film, but that's pretty much it. There was no credit scene at the end of this movie. At least I didn't see one. Over on the audience side, it's sit with a score of 96%, with 5,000 plus fans telling you what they think. Now, majority of the fans and the critics are loving this movie coming out of opening weekend. Now, with a budget of $100 million and its estimated domestic box office of $120.5 million and its international box office of $88.1 million, which brings us to a total of $208.6 million for its opening weekend. Now, we're going to have to wait and see how this thing actually performs in week 2 to see if it has any legs or not. I don't think this movie is going to really have that much trouble coming next week, even though that the only big movie really coming out next weekend is Transformers Rise of the Beast. Now, I think it might put a little bit of a dent in its box office next week, but not all that much, because Transformers Rise of the Beast is not estimated to have much of a box office. But who knows? That action movie does look pretty damn good, so maybe. But I think this movie is going to have some pretty decent legs, and I think it's going to go pretty damn far, in my opinion. But overall, I got to say, I like this movie a lot. I'm going to probably say it's probably one of my most favorite movies of this year so far. I mean, the story was good. The action was good. Now, I've seen a lot of people comparing this movie to Empire Strikes Back. After only seeing this movie once, I don't know about that one. I'm going to have to see this movie again to actually give it a better, more closer look than I did this time around, to see if and kind of really think about it that way. I mean, because that's a high bar for me. I mean, the Star Wars trilogy, the original Star Wars trilogy, is, like, in my opinion, 3 of the greatest movies ever made of all damn time. They are my 3 most favorite movies all damn time. I mean, some people can say whatever they want about them, but I love those movies. So, to me, if you were going to say that this movie is the Empire Strikes Back to the SpiderVerse trilogy, that's a high bar. I'm going to have to go watch this movie again to really figure that out, because right now, I don't know if I agree with that. Do you? Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Now, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is scheduled to drop in theaters March 29th of 2024. Now, with the writer's strike going on right now, I think that could change. I really do. I mean, I don't know if they've actually wrote that movie or not, but that thing's not going in production anytime soon. And with this female-led movie that's in development right now, with the writer's strike, they're not really going to do much development on it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they can talk about stuff, but they can't write anything. So that's going to be a while, depending on how long this strike actually goes on. We'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. You know what I mean? So, did you get a chance to go check Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse out in the theaters this weekend? Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? Did you like this movie? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think this movie is the Empire Strikes Back of the Spider-Verse? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, I like this movie. I had a lot of fun watching this movie. It was really bonkers. Probably like one of the best multiverse movies that we've seen as of late. You know what I mean? With the Endgame and everything that's going on with the MCU and everything, and even with the Flash movie that's coming out here pretty soon. I'm kind of getting sick of multiverse, to be quite honest with you, but this movie has done it the best out of all of them so far, right? So let me know what you think in the comments down below.